Last week, the head of Amazon Studios yeeted the company, and now it might have big implications for shows like Rings of Power, which have been absolute disasters financially for Amazon and, of course, for fans of Lord of the Rings. But will it actually change? Let's take a look at this as this new former Amazon Studios founder is calling for a purge of the TV department and a complete retcon of Rings of Power as they're working on Season 3. This is your fantasy news, your real fantasy news, my friends. Thank you for being here. And we try to cover all things involving Lord of the Rings and the like. I'm a fantasy author myself, and I wrote a classic Sword of Sorcery. While I wouldn't compare this to Tolkien, I would compare it to a lot of the cool sword and sorcery stuff that came out among his contemporaries and the like. And that's what we're trying to bring back, my friends. This has a strong male lead who fights against a great evil. It's got overt Christian themes like Lord of the Rings, and of course rescues a princess. All the good things that you want out of fantasy, they don't deliver to you anymore because they're too busy trying to make her a strong girl boss. This is for you. You're going to love it. It just came out a couple of weeks ago, and thank you for making this our biggest launch yet. I'm hearing you guys for what you want, and check it out. Please grab this. It's available on ebook. It's only $4.99. Very easy, inexpensive read, and you can support our channel by doing so as well. It's in the description below. Thank you, everybody who's a great reader. I appreciate you being here. So where's the news today? Amazon Video and Studios founder and former Disney executive Roy Price called for Amazon Studios to purge its TV department and retcon Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. In his recent post to Substack, he shared his advice on what Amazon should do in order to stop losing when it comes to TV. As a part of his advice, he called for a purging of the company's TV department, explaining it's become too big and is relying on consensus decision-making. This is a lot of what plagues Disney as well. They have a whole boardroom in there just like gutting the soul of things and then instead just producing this slop because it's all done by committee and rather than by artistic visions. And this is exactly what Rings of Power is. It's just like the most boring thing. I tried to have my wife watch it so we could catch up for Season 2. And I watched all of Season 1. I've not watched Season 2. And so we got about, I think there's 8 episodes, right? 6 episodes into it. It was so difficult to sit through all these Rings of Power things. Like, she couldn't do it. And so that is just how boring the show is all the way around. Not to mention any of the, going into the Tolkien lore bastardization is a whole nother thing, which I could rant about for hours. But it's just on a level, just not good TV. It really isn't. Not only did he call Amazon's MGM Studios TV department to be cut down in size, but he indicated it needs a new attitude as well. It needs a lead that will get out their knives, put them in their teeth, and learn how to be nonconformists again. Well, I got to tell you, don't put a woman at the head of things. Sorry, female viewers, but if you look at this seems to be the trend. All of these companies put a woman at the head of things to try to be feminist and try to be out there. Look at Kathleen Kennedy over at Disney doing the exact same stuff. And it just tanks these action male properties every single time because they don't understand them. They don't understand what men want. It's very simple. Speaking specifically to the show on the docket, already in development, he made it abundantly clear the type of thinking that created the Rings of Power must be done away with. He suggested one thing I would tell the team to do is completely retcon everything Rings of Power so far. That was an experiment. It's now non-canonical. We're starting over from scratch. It never happened. We're literally throwing it away. Oh, gosh, Lord of the Rings fans would be so happy if this happened. You got to do the same with Wheel of Time, though. They really destroyed that show, too. Oh, my gosh. No, I'm a big Robert Jordan fan. Don't get me started there, too. Price even suggested that a single episode of Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne's The Rings of Power may be created where everyone's slaughtered in an orgy of blood that would make John Woo blush, and they're finally eaten by Tom Bombadil, who larks through the forest covered with gore, singing, "Hey doll, merry doll, ring-a-dong-de-lo, ring-a-dong, hop along, fa-la-la willow, Tom Bomb, Jolly Tom, Tom Bombadillo." To be clear, it's not just Rings of Power that he wants to retcon. He wants to retcon any scripts or pre-production done for potential James Bond spin-offs such as 008 or Moneypenny is Henry Cavill's Warhammer series, and Red Dead Redemption. All of these shows being developed, redeveloped from scratch, he declared. He specifically notes that these male-skewing shows should not be turned into big female draws. Doesn't make sense. That's correct. He claims that thinking is ridiculous by asking, why on earth would you do that? Has it literally ever worked? And no, it hasn't. Same thing happened with Star Wars. Same thing happened with the MCU. We've seen it. Same thing happened with Star Trek. They just ruin everything when they go this direction. Instead, Amazon should find female skewing shows. Oh, imagine that. Women like their own shows. There's what's a great one? Netflix has Emily in Paris, and don't tune out on me now, guys. Emily in Paris actually is well written. It's well done. It's definitely geared towards females. But of course, like that works, and that's why it's so successful. I mean, these people are ridiculous. A new no-brainer would be new adaptations of Jane Austen's works, or possibly striking a deal with Nora Roberts, who has written over 225 romance novels alongside her police procedurals and science fiction. There you go. Price also notes that Amazon should develop some dramas and comedies, but they must have a single focus, must be great scripts. This is the deal. When you try to appeal to everyone, when you try to push the demographic sort of casting and everything, well, let's have the female lead. Let's bring in women to Lord of the Rings. It doesn't work. In fact, the women would rather prefer to watch real Lord of the Rings with Aragorn and Frodo as a lead because it feels better. They want to see masculinity be masculine almost all of the time. That's why those movies are a success. It's not because they put the elf Galadriel and turned her from like this like weird mystical being to this like sword fighter who beats up dudes. That's not what women want. Never works. You don't put the black elf in there to, oh yeah, you're gonna get the black demographic in this very white skewing Lord of the Rings thing. Yeah, right. That didn't help at all. Every single time they try this, like they say, it always fails. You don't put the gay people in there because that just turns off your normal straight white male audience. I mean, it's pretty obvious. You focus on one thing at a time. And if you have a female-oriented show or a black-oriented show, guess what? They'll come in for those. But you know what? The white people are not going to come in for those. It just is what it is. You have to target things to a specific audience because not everybody is into the homogeneity. In fact, nobody is. At that point, when you try to be for everyone, you end up being for no one. And that's exactly what's happened with everything in Hollywood. He says, focus on great scripts. The company cannot get bogged down in diversity plans, relationships with specific talent agencies, how to promote its next show or movie with the current show, as Marvel is wont to do, or your various deals. Finally, he says, as Amazon is well-positioned, given its audience must-watch TV and pay for it, they have the money to make something that could be great. Yes, Amazon's huge. They've got everybody on Prime, and everybody's on Prime anyway because they want the free shipping. So they've got a captive audience who's like, yeah, I've got it anyway. I might as well watch this, right? It should be easy. It really should. And they are having problems. And so this is interesting. As their studio head stepped down last week and is gone, obviously big sweeping changes are happening. They know, I mean, that sort of step down doesn't happen just because somebody just wants to leave or anything like that. Especially in this environment, we saw the Daily Wire CEO step down. We're seeing a lot of big sweeping changes happening. And the reason is because the DEI money was all getting funded from the government. We know this. And the government was encouraging this stuff and encouraging these people to get into these positions. And it's all failed economically. And so that money's dried up, at least for the next 4 years. So they really have to pivot quickly to try to make stuff that people actually want to see again. And a lot of them have not done it. We've covered that a lot on this. And a lot of the same slop's still coming out, and they're still doubling down. But as these people get yeeted from these studios, they do need to remove their focus. I agree with him that Rings of Power is just a travesty. I don't see any way it could possibly recover at this juncture because they just caused a massive problem here. End the show. Recoup the investment, start something new for Lord of the Rings that actually does honor to Tolkien's lore, and just make it maybe smaller in scope. If you don't want to do a $1 billion budget show, make it smaller in scope. It's not that hard. I mean, it's doable, but these people can't do it because they just don't care. They don't love actual fantasy. They don't love Tolkien especially. And yes, I don't see it coming. Great suggestion, but they're going to go forward as planned. We know that Season 3 is just going right ahead, and they're pretending that it's the same nonsense as it was before, and it's not going to go well for them. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Do you think that Amazon could be salvaged? Hit the like and subscribe button. Do check out The Demon's Eye. This is wonderful classic sword and sorcery fantasy. You're going to love it, guys. I wrote this for you, and I wrote this for fans of the real fantasy genre. It's in the description below. Support our channel. We'll be back.